Please give a big hand for comedian Pastor Pritt, the music pastor.
Thank you, thank you. It's good to be here tonight. If you're glad to be here tonight, let's give a cheer for our church. Give me an L.
L.
Give me a B.
B.
Give me a C.
C.
I thought it was better than Pastor Valiente gave me credit for. Hey, I'm so glad my wife was able to make it here. I really appreciate her playing on the piano. And I thought I'd ask you this just because of her. You know what happens when you drop a piano down a mine shaft? You get A flat minor. Just try and control yourselves, folks. What do you get when you take a B-52 bomber and you drop a piano in a marine installation, a military installation? A flat major. For my girls, she's already embarrassed. For my girls, what's the difference between a cello, that's what Reagan plays, and a violin, that's what Maddie plays? The cello burns longer. How do you get a trombone to sound like a French horn? You put your hand in the bell and you play wrong notes. All right. I have a very serious story to tell you. All right. Bob and Betty Hill they had just gotten married and they were on their vacation in Europe. They're driving through the mountains in Europe. They were in a rental car. They just happened to be driving through Transylvania when a rainstorm hit. And it got harder and harder. And as they're driving, the visibility was getting worse. And suddenly Bob lost control of the car and drove off the road, hit a tree. He was kind of dazed. And he shakes himself, looks over at his wife. She's unconscious. She's bleeding. And he grabs her and he runs down the road looking for help. Off in the distance, he sees this white light. So he follows it and comes to this house. He knocks on the door. Please help me. Can you please help me? This hunchback answers the door. Hello? Bob's a little nervous, but he says, please, my wife is injured. Can you help me? He says, I'm sorry, but we don't have a phone, but my master's a doctor. Maybe he can help you. He said, please, please. So he comes inside, and Igor goes upstairs and grabs his master. Master, please help these people. The master comes down. He's a very distinguished man. He's wearing a tuxedo for some reason. And he says, sorry, folks, I really am not a doctor. I'm a scientist, but I do have some basic medical training. I can help you. So he says, take them down to the laboratory and set up for the transfusion. So they take him down, and he starts to work on Mrs. Hill. And Mr. Hill collapses. He's just overcome with all the stress and everything. He collapses so that the scientist works on both of them. And it's to no avail. Both of them pass away. The scientist is so distraught. He's so distraught. He's so just overcome with grief that he says, Igor, please clean up the laboratory. I'm going to go up to my conservatory and play the organ for a while to calm my nerves. And he starts playing, and this music is just going through the whole house. And as Igor's cleaning up the laboratory, he noticed Mrs. Hill's finger starts to twitch. And then Mr. Hill starts to stretch his legs. And Mrs. Hill sits up and looks at him and is getting ready to talk. And he runs upstairs to the conservatory where his master's playing the organ. And he says, Master, Master! You want to hear the rest?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
He says, Master, Master, the hills are alive with the sound of music. Thank you very much. Please tip your ushers as you leave.
Intermission, please.